I'm just using a new computer. Shalom, everybody. Yishem Adonai Mevorach. Ma'atam Adonai Hashem's name will be blessed forever and ever. Thank you for all those who are participating and joining our class about Parashat Vayechi, Parashat Hashavua. We have 87 pesukim, every 87 verses in this 85 verses in this parasha. Very interesting, Parashat Vayechi. I will try to speak slowly so everybody be able to follow with no problems. If there is any issue with the sounds or the picture, please let me know. I will let you ask questions during the class. You can ask at any time, by the way, questions. I just want to go ahead and continue with a quick overview. Vayechi in a nutshell. Summarizing really quickly the parasha. I want to dedicate on behalf of Ohev Israel Foundation the historic class for speedy recovery, refuah shelema, for all the names you want to mention. You may say it now. Shmuel ben Simcha and Tziona bat Shula bat Leah. Amen. Amen v'amen. So, Parashat Vayechi. Jacob lives the final 17 years of his life in Egypt. Before his passing, he asks Joseph to take an oath that he will bury him in the Holy Land. Just a quick question, why he would ask his own son to swear, to take an oath for that. He blesses Joseph's two sons, Menashe and Ephraim, elevating them to the status of his own sons as progenitors of tribes within the nation of Israel, something nobody considered before. The patriarch desires to reveal the end of the days to his children, but is prevented from doing so. We see the blessing, but you see, we have the intention for it, but eventually he didn't really reveal before them the end of the days and what's going to happen in the days of Mashiach. Jacob blesses his sons, assigning to each his rule as a tribe. Judah, for example, will produce leaders, legislators, and kings. Priests will come from, the tribe of Levi. Scholars from the tribe of Issachar. Seafarers from Zevulun. School teachers from Shimon. Soldiers from Gad. Judges from Dan. Olive growers from Asher, and so on. We see that Reuven is rebuked for his confusion, for confusing his father's marriage bed. That he switched. He did something that is not appropriate, is not his business. There's a matter of tzniut, modesty. He decided that his father will stay in another tent at night. That was not his business. Anyways, Shimon and Levi, for the massacre of Shechem and the plot against Joseph, also were rebuked. Naphtali is granted the swiftness of deer, and Benjamin the ferociousness of a wolf. And Joseph is blessed with beauty and fertility. We see in the parasha also a large funeral procession consisting of Jacob descendants, Pharaoh's ministers, the leaders, the leading citizens of Egypt, and the Egyptians. The cavalry accompanies Jacob and his final journey to the land of Israel, to the Holy Land, not the land of Israel yet, where he is buried in Machpelat cave, the Marat Machpelah in Hebron. Almost toward the end of the parasha, Joseph too dies in Egypt at the age of Remember? 110. He too instructs his bones to be taken out of Egypt. Seems that nobody want to stay there. Out of Egypt and buried in the Holy Land. But this would come to pass only with the Israelites' exodus from Egypt many years later. Now, before his passing, Joseph conveys to the children of Israel the testament from which they will draw their hope and faith in the difficult years to come, saying, God will surely remember you and bring you up out of this land to the land of which he swore to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. That was a really quickly Parsha in a nutshell. Question? Anybody wants to ask a question? Okay, so let's move on to the first part. We're going to divide it by aliyot. Every aliyah contains around 15, sometimes 20 verses. Anybody that has already question or wants to share something, please do so. Again, first aliyah from first pasuk 28 on chapter 47. Chapter 47, Genesis 47, 28. I'm going to read the Hebrew, first pasuk in Hebrew. Vayechi Yaakov be'eretz Mitzrayim 17 shana, Vayehi yemei Yaakov shene chayav 7 shanim ו40 ומעט shana. Quick question. What is the name of the parasha? I don't know if you noticed that. It's a little bit strange. The name of the parasha, Vayechi, and Yaakov lived. So I would expect the Torah to teach me and tell me about Yaakov's life. But in this very parasha, it mentioned that he's dead. He died. Same with Chaye Sarah. Sarah died in that parasha, and yet the parasha named Chaye Sarah, the life of Sarah. So this parasha should be called the Death of Yaakov. Why it's called Vayechi? Sounds like he's still alive or something. So I saw a beautiful explanation about it, saying that a righteous people living behind them legacy. They're living behind them tradition. They're living behind them teachings. And therefore they're still alive. For example, Rashi's dead. We're saying Rashi, yeah, he passed away, he's buried, but he's still alive. Why is he still alive? Because his commentary over the Torah and over the Talmud is with us every day. If you read there's millions of people, I'm not exaggerating, that are reading Rashi commentary over the Torah, or Rashi, or the Talmud, or the Rambam, by Manadi, or Ramban, and many other commentators. And Shulchan Aruch means that they are still alive. They left behind them such a tradition, such a great, unbelievable legacy. So this is why it's called Chaye Sarah, same with Sarah, same with Yaakov. He gave us the 12 tribes. Now, I have more than a couple of questions on this parasha, but let's read the first part, the first Aliyah. A quick summary. Jacob lived his last 17 years in Egypt. When Jacob sensed that his days were numbered, he summoned Joseph and asked him to promise that he will bury him in Israel. So why he called Joseph? Why he didn't call his older son Reuven? What about Yehuda? What about everyone else? Why he called Yosef? Yosef is not busy enough. So the commentators point out, saying that Yaakov called to one that he know would be able to do so. Because the brothers, his other sons, are great. They're wonderful. But they're not in control. The one that controls the land, the one that he is king over Egypt, is Joseph. So you want to talk business? You talk with the boss, with the head. So Joseph was called to his father. He exceeded this request. When Jacob then fell ill, Joseph visited him, accompanied by his two sons, Menashe and Ephraim. I want to remind you, Menashe is the older son, Ephraim is the younger son. Jacob conferred upon Ephraim and Menashe the status of tribal progenitors, I think you call it progenitors. He gave them the status of a tribe, which was not spoken or planned before. Nobody even thought about that, because each of his own sons are a tribe by itself. But now Yosef is not a tribe. There is no tribe of Yosef. Yosef got extra blessing. Both of his sons will get equal share in the land of Israel. So Yosef became two tribes. So they become progenitors, status hitherto enjoyed only by Jacob's sons. Joseph asked his father to bless Ephraim and Menashe. So this is the first Aliyah. We see that Yaakov insists to be buried in the land of Israel, not in Egypt. Same with Yosef. Same later on with all the other tribes. We go back to Yaakov. Why Yaakov, Jacob didn't want to be buried in Egypt? They would make a great pyramid just for Yaakov. We saw that it was accompanied with such great leaders from all over the Middle East that came to give him less respect. They respected Yaakov very, very much. What was the reason that Yaakov insists? He wants to be buried in the land of Israel. So the first concern that Yaakov had was he knew that they will quickly turn him as an idol and worship him, because they noticed something very strange. What happened? They have, we've learned the Parashat before, that they have 7 years of abundance. Food and abundance. There's no lack of anything. And then the 7 years of starvation came right after. But it was only 2 years. And it stops. When? It stops immediately when Yaakov and his children came to the land of Israel. So everybody praised Yaakov. They say such a great person came, such a great prophet and Navi came to our land, such a blessing. We are not going to let this guy leave here. Yaakov was very, very concerned. He heard the talking and he instructed Yosef, you don't leave me here. They're going to make me as an idol. And they know that blessing came upon them because Hashem is with us. So that main reason Yaakov wants to leave the land of Egypt. Beside that, the land was full of tum'ah. Tum'ah is impurity. It was black magic all over. It was the land is cursed. Another reason not to be there. Third reason is we know that all the neshamot, all the souls of the world, coming in and out Jerusalem. In and out Jerusalem. It's like a pipe. In times of Mashiach, may Hashem send Mashiach in our life, in our time. In times of Mashiach, there will be Be'ezrat Hashem, the resurrections of the dead. And those who live in Eretz Israel, fine. It's a very short journey. Maybe not journey at all. Hashem will shake the earth, they'll come out. But those who live outside of the land of Israel, those who buried outside the land of Israel, will have to go through a lot of pain till they go to the land of Israel. So therefore, he didn't want to stay in the land of Egypt. And Yosef the same, for this very same reason. By the way, I don't see everybody. I see, Baruch Hashem, we have a lot of participants, but I don't see your video. You may be still on mute, but I just want to make sure that you guys, I can see you. If it's okay for you guys to open videos, it will be wonderful. Any question for the first part? Okay, we've learned the great things. To be buried in Eretz Israel, it's very, very important thing that our forefathers, the patriarch and the matriarch, took it very, very seriously. To the extent that you have to make Yaakov had to make Yosef swear to him. And why you want him to swear to him? Because Yaakov knew that Pharaoh won't let him. He won't let him live. Yeah, you can't go, you can't bury your father, send soldiers and messenger, you can't live here. Everybody knows the blessing came as soon as Yosef started to deal with the government and rule and control. And now he's going to live. They didn't want that. So what Yaakov did, with his wisdom, he says, I'm going to make him swear. And now he can go to Pharaoh. He says, listen, I can't break it. It's not just an agreement between me and my father. I took an oath. An oath in our family is very strong. I can't break it. And it worked out. When he wanted to go and bury his father, Pharaoh told him the same thing. You don't have to go. Send other people. You can escort your father till the borders of Egypt. And then let him go. Let the other people go. I need you here. But he says to Pharaoh, you know, I made an oath. I took an oath. So we can break the oath. It's called Hatarat Nedarim. We can nullify, we can null this oath. Then Yosef says, I might have a problem. Because remember, I swear to you that I will not tell anybody that I know an extra language that you don't know. I know another language above you. That will break too. I mean, I will be free from this oath. Pharaoh heard that and says, okay, that's fine. We're not breaking any oath here. Just go, bury your father. All is good. So, Baruch Hashem, he gave him the less respect. This is the first Aliyah. Any questions? Okay, moving on. The next Aliyah, that was Rishon, the first Rishon. It's from verse Yud, chapter 48, verse 10. What's the Aliyah, the group of Pesukim is all about? So the second Aliyah, the first one the Kohen reads, the second is the Levi. Yosef presents his two sons, placing Menashe, the firstborn, to Jacob's right, and Ephraim to Jacob's left. Jacob, who was nearly blind at this point, crossed his hands, placing his right, more prestigious hand on Ephraim's head, and the left on Menashe's head. He blessed them the following, and I'm quoting, "May the angel who redeemed me from all harm, from all harm, bless the youth, and may they be called by my name and the name of my fathers, Abraham and Yitzchak, and may they multiply abundantly like fish in the midst of the land. So he's reading them, he's blessing them with the following. I'm going to repeat this in Hebrew. Hamalach, it's in verses 15 and 16. ויברך את יוסף, ויאמר אלוהים אשר יתהלכו לפניו, אברהם, יצחק, האלוהים הרואה אותי מעודי ועד היום, המלאך, the angel, הגואל אותי מכל רע, יברך את הנערים. There's a very famous song. המלאך הגואל אותי, המלאך הגואל אותי מכל רע, יברך את הנערים, ויקרא בהם שמי. You can Google it, you can probably find it on YouTube. If you remind me, I will send you on the group a link to this song. And it says, ויקרא בהם שמי ושם אבותי, אברהם ויצחק, וידגו לרוב בקרב הארץ. And he compared them to the fish. So they multiply. So first question we should ask here, why he crossed hands? Giving the right hand, or putting the right hand over the head of Ephraim. Okay? And the left of Manasseh. Second, what's the big deal? Why it's a big deal right here and left there? And another question I have here, why compare them to fish? From all the animals on earth, he chose fish. We all know that Yaakov's blessing was not only a blessing, it was basically a blessing with a prophecy. Such a great man that give you a blessing, don't take it lightly. You know, it's one thing to get a blessing from your fellow friend, or another, or to get a blessing from a great scholar, or a great rabbi, or Yaakov, so forth and so on. So the first question that we have to deal, why he crossed hands. So Yosef didn't like it. That's actually the third Aliyah, saying Yosef was. Maybe I'll continue and then I'll go back to explain the third part, which Israel gets the Aliyah. First is the Kohen, second is the Levi, and the third is regular Israel. It's from verse 17 to 22. Joseph was disturbed that Jacob, placed his right hand on Ephraim, and Joseph, attempted to adjust his father's hands. And his father replied, Jacob, I know, my son, I know. Jacob responded, explaining that the younger brother will be greater, and his children's fame will fill the nations. Jacob blessed the two boys further, saying that all of Israel will bless each other by saying, may God make you like Ephraim and Menashe. I give you a tip and one of Jewish secret here. If you want to say a blessing to your children, these words that I just said, and I'm reading it in Hebrew, Yesimcha Elohim ke Ephraim uchim Menashe, include in these words, all the blessing of the Torah. In Hebrew is Yesimcha Elohim ke Ephraim v'chem Menashe. 4 words. May God make you like Ephraim and Menashe. You give this to your children, you gave them now all the berachot in the Torah. They are bounded together in these words. He told them, my son Yosef, I know. This guy, Ephraim, needs the beracha much more, to be more stronger, because Yoshua will come from him. Yoshua will be the second leader, the leader after Moshe, and he surely needed, with all the challenges he has to go through, he definitely have to have a special beracha. So why fish from all the animals? Anybody have any idea? You may now move the They multiply, I agree, but I know other animals that multiply.
They multiply quickly.
Multiply quickly. I can think about maybe bees or mosquitoes. They multiply quickly. Why fish? Why fish? From all the animals. You're not saying it's right. They multiply quickly, but give me something else. No. It says Vayidgu larov. I tell you. Let me Bezrat Hashem, I'll share with you two reasons. First, fish, you saw in many traditions, in many nations, many people using fish in the car, at home. Why? Because we believe that it can protect them from evil eye. You heard that before? It comes from Judaism. Fish is a symbol against evil eye. Why? Because evil eye, in Hebrew it's called ayin hara. We discussed that before. Malde ojo can control what it sees. What it doesn't see cannot control. This is why you're telling always people, we're teaching them, be modest. Don't show off. You want to buy a luxury car, take under consideration that people will jealous at you and they might give you an evil eye. It's on you. So why fish? Because fish, ayin hara, the evil eye doesn't control fish. Why? Because they are under the water. You don't see them. What you can see, it's not in the control of the eye. So the naked eye, you look from above, you see other animals, you see people, you see buildings. Fish you don't see. You have to dive, but from above you can see. That's a good sign that they are protected and they multiply. There's going to be we're never going to have a lack of fish. Baruch Hashem. That's number one. Another thing is, he wanted to tell him that he's proud of his education, the way Joseph educated his both sons in a land that is full of impurity, full of tumah, full of lie, full of immodest, all over. And in order to eat an animal, you have to go through a process. For example, someone eat a meat or a chicken, has to go to a slaughter, kosher shechita, kosher slaughtering, and you have to check the lungs in animals, and then salt it and take the blood out. It's a process. But fish is ready right away. You take it out of the border, boom on the head, and it's ready. No preparation needed. And you can even eat it raw. For those who like to eat sushi, right? So he wanted to tell him, your children, they are kosher from the beginning, from birth. Immediately they're kosher. There doesn't need to go through a process of kosherizing them. It's another reason. Moving on. Any questions? We are on the fourth Aliyah. It's from chapter 49, verse Aleph. It's the list of the blessings all the way through verse 18, chapter 49, Aleph to 18, 1 to 18. What do we have in the fourth Aliyah? Jacob summoned all his sons and delivered to each poetic and sometimes cryptic, parting personal message, great message and role in this world. Reuben was chastened for his, as I mentioned before, he was rebuked for his behavior. Shimon and Levi the same. and the rest gets beautiful blessings. The question should raise, hold on, everyone else gets blessings. What's up with Reuven? Gets rebuke. Shimon, rebuke. Levi get rebuke. Levi has the Levite and he has the Kohanim coming from him. What is going on here? All the other children, we have Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Issachar, Zevulun, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Yosef, Binyamin, Ephraim, and Menashe. Everybody gets blessing. Reuven, the firstborn, and Shimon and Levi, they exempt. They don't get blessing, but rebuke. Shimon and Levi was rebuked for the anger which expressed itself in the killing of the Shechemites, right? And the attempt of executing Yosef. Judah was blessed with monarchy, success, and winning in the battle, and an abundance of wine and milk in his portion. Zebulun was blessed in this portion, blessed with success in his sea trade adventures. Jacob likened Issachar to a thick-boned donkey who finds both rest and work. I mean, he is very dedicated. He can get upon himself the yoke of Torah. Dan was blessed with the intensity of serpent and the ability to judge. You have to be cool, you have to be strong, you have to be sharp. So I'm puzzled with the question, with the blessing that Reuven, Shimon, and Levi didn't receive. Does anybody have an idea why Reuven, Shimon, and Levi got rebuked versus a blessing? No ideas? Guys, am I asking too hard questions, or you actually not even listening to me over there? No, I see your faces. I see that. I see that you are listening.
I'm listening.
What is it?
They killed the men in Shechem.
I'm giving them a blessing, right? You rebuke them. This is the best time. The best time to give them the rebuke. Give them the rebuke after the blessing. Before, call them a week before, call them a week later. I don't know. Right now, everybody's standing and you're saying a rebuke. Rabbi say, listen to this. My friends, listen to this. This is a great rule and lesson for life. Sometimes rebuke is a blessing. To correct someone, to put him on a spot, to teach him, to guide him, this is the best blessing one can ever get. It is a blessing when you tell someone, you reveal to him, you enlighten him with what he's doing wrong. Now we have the opportunity to rectify, to fix, to change. The Talmud says, En Adam ro'eh benigei atzmo. Usually a person cannot see their own defect, their own errors. He needs his wife to tell him. He needs a friend, a Rabbi. When I say his wife, I see all the wives smiling over there. I'm telling you. It can be vice versa, by the way. Rebuking someone, you need to learn how to do it. It's not just, yelling, God forbid, at something, or preaching to someone. One of the rules of rebuking is you cannot tell someone that he did wrong, something they did wrong, if you fail in the same thing. For example, you're eating, God forbid, cheese and meat together, and saying, why are you eating it? So, it's forbidden to eat meat and cheese. Why are you eating meat and cheese? Shame on you. Obviously, you can't do that. It's called hypocrite. You need to be, if you want to rebuke someone that is, I don't know, he's angry, he had a short fuse, he has a high temper, you need to be yourself, I don't know, a laid-back person, a calm, someone that can control his own desires, and they will listen to you. Because the guy would tell you, you have a short fuse greater than me, what are you talking about? They will never listen to you. So, to tell, and this is what Yaakov wants to do, he is teaching every one of us that rebuke is a blessing, maybe the greater blessing. You are here in this world for a mission. The mission is to rectify. And I'm telling you what you're doing wrong, and you still live your life the same way, you're missing the whole point of being in this world. Someone that has too much pride in him, the trait of haughtiness is so great in a high level, is zealous to do things and insult and hurt other people. The solution is to spread them all over. This is what Yaakov did with your Shimon and Levi. He says, you guys cannot be together. When you're together, you can destroy the entire world. You're too strong, you're too sharp, you're too strict. So Shimon was teachers and great rabbis came out of them, and they spread all over the land of Israel to teach. Levi, they lived in many cities, spread all over, also teaching Torah. Cannot be together. That's the meaning of that Hashem said, that He blessed them, that they will be spread all over. Want to make sure they're busy. Keep them busy. When you be occupied with Torah learning and Torah teaching, you have no time to think about, that will be hurting other people. Okay. I'm trying really hard to finish this parasha today with you together. We are on the Fifth Aliyah. Fifth Aliyah. It's verse 19, chapter 49, 19, verse 19 toward 26, 19 to 26, the Sixth Aliyah, the Fifth Aliyah, I'm sorry, Fifth Aliyah. God was blessed with bravery in battle, Asher's blessing and abundance of olive oil. Naphtali was blessed with the speed of a deer. Joseph was recognized for his charm, suffering, and righteousness, and was charade with variety of blessings. You can see from here who got the most blessings above all the other tribes. Yosef, he got double portion, delivered them to Menashe and Ephraim. And he got, if you look carefully at the Pesukim and the verses, you see that he got the most blessing. And then before that he became a king, the wealthiest person, the people that everybody follow and listen to him. And we'll see later that all his brothers bow to him. Our Rabbi is teaching us that sometimes when you suffer and you have pain and you think this is the end of the world, God is preparing something great for you, because it's all God's plan. The more you suffer, the greater reward you get, either in this world or maybe in the world to come, or even both. Yosef got it both in this world and then the next world. The saying in the Talmud in Aramaic is Lefum, I'm saying Aramaic now, Lefum Tzara Agra. I repeat, Lefum Tzara Agra. Meaning, the more you suffer, the greater reward you get. If you suffer to do a mitzvah, you suffer, I don't know, you're very tired, and you can't pray now, but you force yourself and you pray, your reward is much greater. You give tzedakah, you give charity, when it's really not so easy for you, for a variety of reasons, but you want to give something. Hashem will bless you in this world and the next world. The greater the pain and the challenge, the greater is the reward. Lefum tzara agran. That's what happened with Yosef. Yosef came from nothing. He suffers all his life. At some point, Hashem says, stop. From now on, you're on the top of everyone. You'll be the king. Everybody follow you. And he gets the most blessings. Any questions? Good. We're moving to the next Aliyah, Sixth Aliyah. Aliyah in Hebrew, by the way, means going up. When someone going up the bima, and he gets Aliyah. That's the meaning of it. People who go to live in Israel, they do Aliyah also. Okay, so verse 27, still chapter 49, verse 27, till almost the end, till chapter 50, verse 20. Okay, so this is the Sixth Aliyah. Okay, the Sixth Aliyah, Binyamin was likened to devouring wolf. I don't know how to say it correctly, but I hope I'm saying the right word. Jacob then repeated his request to be buried in Israel in the cave of Machpelah in Hebron. Machpelah means doubles. Abraham and Sarah, Adam and Eve, Yaakov and Leah, Yitzchak and Rivka. Doubles buried there. In Hebron, and he passed away at the age of Yaakov Avinu 147. After an extended national mourning period, Joseph received Pharaoh's permission to carry Jacob's body up to Israel. A huge funeral procession consisted of all the elders of Egypt, as well as Jacob's family, went and buried Jacob. After returning to Egypt, Joseph's brothers fear that now, after Jacob had passed away, Joseph will execute a revenge from them, on them, for selling him into slavery. Joseph reassured them that he has no hard feelings toward them at all. Why they had this suspicion? Their suspicion raised first because he never told them that he forgave them. You can't find it in the verses in the Torah. He always told them, that's fine, don't worry, but he didn't say the words, I forgive you. Secondly, on the way back, they went through the area where they had the famous pit that he was thrown to. And all of a sudden, all the people stopped. They see Yosef coming out of his chariot, going to the pit, and looking down for long minutes, saying a prayer. He said the prayer to God, thank you for saving me for such a place. The brothers saw it. They looked at each other and they say, well, he didn't forget. He didn't forget. Now when we're going back to Egypt, he's going to punish us. So this is why they came to him, and we'll see it in the next part of the parasha. The last part, the seventh part, from verse 21 to 26 and chapter 50, the seventh Aliyah. Joseph lived until, it says that he lived until the age of 110. Before passing away, he told his brothers that God will eventually take them out of Egypt and return them to the promised land. Joseph asked his brothers to promise that when that time arrived, they will carry his remains with them and inter him in Israel. Joseph assured them, he promised them, don't worry, I'm not going to do anything to you. They saw that his dreams about the stars bowing to him happened and fulfilled because they bowed to him, and he took care of them. But he died at a very young age, 110 compared to them. They're saying that because a ruler with all the troubles that they have become, someone that is in a high position, and when you in control and when you rule over a nation or a people, it will shorten your life. Just take it under consideration. Yosef went through a process of mummification. He did the same to his father. There's all debate in Judaism if it's permitted or not, because I don't know if you know anything about, you probably know about the process of mummification, that they had to to take out the internal parts, including taking the brain out and so forth. I don't want to discuss you. Just leaving the outside shell and the bones and everything. From the outside it looks like a body, but inside it's empty, and they fill it up with a very special material to absorb the body, so the body will not get rotten, and it can last for thousands of years. We can see mummies. I saw some in Houston, and I know there is in many museums. The question how he could do it to his father, that they go through such a process, it's not appropriate. And in Judaism, it's not permitted. So I saw in the Zohar in Kabbalah says that him and Yaakov got a special treatment, meaning without taking the internal part, just using a very special material that they will inject through the belly to the body, and it will absorb the body, and they smear it from the outside, so they took care of the inside and the outside. Both got such a special treatment due to their custom, to their belief. There's many things to learn in this parasha. I'm glad that we were able to go over the entire parasha, and we discuss some topics, and we learn lessons for life, something we can learn from every verse of the Torah, every pasuk of the Bible. If anyone has any questions, please, I'll be glad to try to answer. Anybody? Okay. In the meantime, till you're thinking about the question, I want to encourage more and more to participate in this Torah class. I want to thank all those who are supporting Ohev Israel Foundation. As we do every week, we will send the link to make donations so we can keep up Torah classes. Please give us from your time. Make efforts to dedicate it to Ohev Israel. Before you do that, say it, as I said last week, I'm dedicating this donation for the sake of a sick person that you know, for your own needs that you need. It's a time that you're making a mitzvah. And I see really people that are making efforts to support Ohev Israel Foundation. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we will meet here next week with a new book of Shemot, and we'll learn Be'ezrat Hashem more and more Torah. If anybody have a question, this is the time. If not, I want to wish each and every one of you all the best. Should have a great Shabbat, a meaningful Shabbat, a very spiritual Shabbat. Do your kiddush, your blessing, with intention, with kavanah, that you really means it. And you read Tanakh, read the Bible, read it, the Jewish Bible, read it with intention to learn a lesson from it, because this is not a words of it. It's not a history. Every word there comes to teach us a lesson. Sorry?
Have a deep meaning every word.
Absolutely. What I'm doing here is basically a Parsha overview, so be able to understand what we are facing in Shabbat before, as a preparation before Shabbat, and a little bit deep meanings here and there. We can study one pasuk the whole week, I'm telling you, and I'm not exaggerating. There's so much to share in our endless Torah that comes from Hashem, that He is endless. Stay healthy. I'm going to wish you that God will bless you with joy, happiness, with great livelihood. And again, with all my heart, thank you for supporting Ohev Israel Foundation. So on behalf of Ohev Israel Foundation, I want to say Shabbat Shalom. Have a great weekend. See you Be'ezrat Hashem. Same place, same time, next week. Shalom.